morning, good evening, good afternoon. I am C. Pal Singh, President of NISSMAT, National Institute of Security, Safety, Management and Applied Technology at Descent. I have with me today General Deepak Mehta, who is a moderator of NISSMAT and an expert on insurgency. Today, we are going to discuss on the recent resurgence of terrorist activities in Jammu region as well as in the Kashmir Valley. The incidents have taken place in the month of June and a little earlier, which indicate that the pattern of the terrorism is being fluctuated or changed by the advice of some intelligence groups so as to confuse the security forces on this side, that is an Indian side. As we all know that in the month of June, terrorist attacks have occurred in Jammu, and this highlights the shift of terrorists from Kashmir Valley to Jammu region. The shift is not total, but the shift is there. Again, the day the new government at the center took over, took the oath, the attacks on targeting security forces and innocent civilians have increased. It is reported by the local police authorities that about 60 to 70% of terrorists who were earlier operating in Jammu region years back, out of them about 60 to 70% of them have again become active. This highlights the shift to Jammu region. On 9th June, this last month, the terrorists, helped by a LET module, Lashkar-e-Taiba module, carried out a terrorist attack on a bus which was taking Hindu pilgrims from Shiv Khori to Mata Vaishno Devi. This resulted in the bus veering into a deep valley in Riyasi district, resulting in death of a number of pilgrims. It is believed that further escalation of terrorism is also likely to take place in this region. After abrogation of Article 370 of the Constitution, the terrorists seems to have shifted their bases from Kashmir Valley to Jammu region to some extent. Huge number of security forces have been deployed in Kashmir Valley after abrogation of Article 370. These forces are there to maintain a grip over the terrorist attacks in the valley. Thus, there seems to be a search and there seems to be an idea on the part of the terrorists that let us change to Jammu region and have some resurgence of activities in Jammu region. The terrorist attacks also seems to be a move to deter holding of assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir, which are proposed to be held shortly after the abrogation of Article 370. The first time the assembly elections are being held after the abrogation. So that also is one of the ideas that you should attack. You should create activity, you should become resurgent, you should shift your bases, you should adopt new tactics so as to create problems for the security forces and the administration of India. I'll now request General Deepak who has worked a long time. He has worked for a long time in Jammu region on anti-terrorist activities. He may kindly explain to us as to how the complex terrain across the international border and LOC is creating problems for the security forces due to resurgence of terrorist activities in Jammu and Kashmir, Jammu region. General Deepak, please.
Thank you, sir. So before I explain the terrain in the Jammu division, I want to just highlight a few points with regards to why has the focus shifted from the Kashmir Valley to the Jammu division. You very correctly brought out that Article 370 is one of the catalysts for it. But as far as the military aspect is concerned, we have a reasonably cogent surveillance system along the line of control. The routes of infiltration by the terrorists from the west have become very difficult and very long. The security forces operating in the J&K Valley, they have by and large annulled the activities of the underground and overground workers who were supporting the terrorists there. As a result, these terrorists had no place to hide. If you see the latest operations which have taken place lately, wherever these fellows are basically in the wilderness, they're in the orchards. When they come into the built-up area, information reaches, because the intelligence is quite active. The operations are launched and these terrorists are liquidated. As a result, because of the problems of the insurgency in the valley, these people have shifted onto the Jammu division. Jammu division, firstly, the line of control is very close to the area of operation. The area north of Poonch, between Poonch and Gulmarg in the valley, has very sparse population. Or rather, there is no population per se. The terrorists have no logistic support. Then they have to climb up to Pir Panjal, the Jamia Wali Gali and Chora Wali Gali to come into Tosha Madan and then get into the valley. Secondly, the vegetation is very thick in this area. Now, as far as the population is concerned, the Poonch area in particular has a population, a very large population of Sikhs and Hindus. The Muslims per se are only along the line of control. Coming down to Rajouri sector has a population that Rajouri, when I talk about Rajouri sector, is further south of Kalakot and that area. It has a population of 50% Hindus and 50% Muslim.
Elaborate on the background of other places like Bhadarwah, Kishtwar, Samba.
Yeah, I'll do that. I mean, coming from north to south. Now, coming down to the Jammu division has got two major rivers, the Tavi River and the Nikki Tavi. Those are very difficult to cross by any car coming from the west. Then you just south of Nikki Tavi, that is south of Jammu, because of the high water level on the ground, there is a very thick growth of Sarkanda. It gives them cover, but once the Sarkanda moves, the people deployed on the border get to know they're coming. Coming further south, as Arnia, Samba area, they have started constructing tunnels, because once they have come into our area through the tunnels, the road Pathankot Jammu is the closest to them. So there the BSF is doing a wonderful job. They have been able to catch hold of a large number of tunnels which have been constructed. So infiltration there has also been stopped to quite an extent. Coming on to Kishtwar, Bhadarwah area, the population there is about 50% Hindu, mostly more than 50% Hindus, a very small sprinkling of Muslims. It was an active area till about mid-90s. Then the village defense force came into being, where weapons were given to the villagers as a defense force for the villages, and insurgency stopped in that area. But now, last week, there has been one armed incident where the terrorists have attacked security post of Doda. So, by and large, by virtue of the fact that the IB is in this line of control is closest in the Jammu division, and that is the area of Rajouri, Riasi. That is why it is simpler for them to infiltrate. They get the logistic support, and that is how this area is shifting from the valley into this area, sir. Now,
I'd like to ask one more question here, intercept you. That the village defense force in any terrorist activities is of great help to the security forces. But as you know very well, their training is not normally up to that mark as to control the terrorism. I mean, they have a resistance and they help the security forces. And as you say, after the 90s, area was very active and you had done all control measure. Were these village defense forces or organization demolished, finished, or they continued? A. B. The likely onset of monsoon. You refer to huge number of Sarkanda area in that area and the likelihood of their hiding places. The likely onset of monsoon season now may worsen the situation as heavy infiltration of terrorists could take place during this season. Would you like to elaborate and then tell us the control measures which we should take?
correct, sir. You're absolutely right. Now, it's been further exaggerated by the use of drones. Like what is happening in Punjab, the drones are being flown in with weapons, ammunition, and narcotics. Similar things are actually happening in the Jammu division, the south of that is the area of Samba, Arnia, and further south. These things are happening along the line of the international border. So they will only come in where they have the logistic support. For example, this incident you mentioned about the terrorists targeting a bus of religious people who are going to Mata Vaishno Devi. The police has acted very fast. They arrested one chap, Hakam Deen from Rajouri. He's 45 years of age, who has been providing logistic support to the terrorists in the past also. He is the man who guided this terrorist group to the ambush site where the bus was ambushed. And he has admitted the fact that he helped them get out of that ambush site also. So I think things are moving in the right direction, sir.
Sir, will you like to also elaborate a little bit or tell us a little bit that one of the top terrorists known as Sarori, who was designated as wing commander of Hezbollah Mujahideen, was operating in Kishwar some time back. He is known for his deceptive tactics, and he has successfully avoided capture by staying in and around minority houses of Hindus. I mean, this is a very deceptive tactic he is using. And all this, plus Sarkanda growing, and plus other weaknesses of not being well-trained, the security defense forces, village defense forces. What are your views as to how we should be able to totally control this region, particularly with you are referring, that is the Jammu region, I am saying?
Sir, firstly, sir, if you take your mind back in the mid-90s, there was a very major operation launched known as Sat Vinash. Sat Vinash was north of Rajouri. There's a place known as Bafliaz. Bafliaz, there's a road track which goes from Bafliaz into the Srinagar Valley. This is the old Mughal route. Because of the high degree of vegetation there was a large number of terrorists which were holed up there. They had the camps, they had the hideouts. So the Sat Vinash was launched, and all these terrorists in the hideouts were liquidated. A similar action is also required, I feel now, in this area of Rajouri, because there is one report to say there are about 60 to 70 terrorists from across the border who are operating in Rajouri sector. And this intelligence report says they are all ex-army of the Pakistan Army, SSG.
Oh, I see.
So we have to increase our own deployment in this area. have a tiered deployment, the front deployment along the line of control, and the deployment in depth, keep the terrorists on the run so they do not find a place to rest, they do not find logistic support, they cannot find the hideout. And I feel that, like what has happened in Sarpanash, another operation to be launched in that area to clear out this area once and for all. We need to have a very cogent intelligence setup. Intelligence, both human, backed by technical support. Apparently, I feel that over a period of time, the intelligence was not as what it used to be earlier. They had to build up that synergy between all the forces which are operating in that area, sir. Be it the Rashtriya Rifles, the troops deployed in depth, the police, the CRPF, and anyone for that matter, all aspects of the security force. And they have to be aware. Then resource control is again a very important facet, I feel, sir. Resource control in terms of supplies, resource control in terms of, for example, a family of 6 cannot buy 1 ton of grain. Where is that thing going? It is going to going somewhere out. So resource control into the finances, supplies, weapons and ammunition has to be kept in view.
Now, in addition to that, probably, I mean, you have to see that you have indicated that there has to be synergy of various security forces operating in this area. Besides, requirement is a support in control of terms of finances, as you say, which are being given to them, that finances should be controlled. Next is also that supplies of arms and ammunition to them should be stopped somehow and build up on human intelligence somehow so that the minority population does not fall victim to these terrorists in Jammu area. Anything you want to go further on this Jammu area, then I'll move on further to
I agree with you, sir. Again, one more factor which comes into being is protection of the minority community.
I'll go further. Then Deepak, that, and now in the valley I'm talking. We have talked about the resurgence of terrorists in the Jammu region. I'll now talk about the valley.
Sir.
You know that lot of operations have been undertaken, or operation, I would not say, terrorist activities have been undertaken by the Terrorist Resistance Force, TRF. It is a separatist militant organization which is involved in the ongoing insurgency in Jammu and Kashmir. This organization has positioned itself as a sort of local organization fighting against the Indian government for Kashmiri freedom. And in the context of past Kashmiri insurgents, it has been shown or indicated as a non-Islamist, but the locus organization. Actually, it is a camouflage. The Indian government has accused the terrorist resistance force of being an offshoot of Pakistani-based Lashkar-e-Taiba, a claim that TRF has denied and resisted. This terrorist resistance force operates primarily in the Kashmir region, with main bases in Srinagar. It has mainly targeted Indian security forces and pro-Indian politicians in Kashmir. It has been accused of attacks against the Hindueta activists and Hindu civilians by the Indian government. Now, the terrorist resistance force, which is claiming itself to be a local resistance force, was founded somewhere in October 2019, following the abrogation of Article 370 and the revocation of special status to Jammu and Kashmir by the Indian government in August 2019. The terrorist resistance force portrays itself no doubt this portrays itself as an indigenous organization, as an indigenous Kashmiri resistance movement fighting for the freedom of Jammu and Kashmir. But the Indian government has accused it as being a frontal organization of Lashkar-e-Taiba. It has been noted to be that it's more, it considers itself as a given itself, it is trying to give itself, I will request, I'll change my word, it is trying to give itself a sort of secular stance towards Kashmir independence. That is what it is giving to stance. And with logos, with statements, with the rationale of all its literature being distinct from the past Islamic Kashmiri insurgent such as Hezbollah Mujahideen, LAT, etc.
Correct.
It has been accused by the Indian government that this force has not only links to the various activists or insurgents, including planning of attacks is also being done by them. According to the government of India, that they have formed information that these militant groups, they are having a sort of a stance to claim itself as an indigenous force, but it is all infiltration across the border. And the smuggling of weapons also is taking place from across the border. The TRF claims responsibility for attack on a security officer in Anantnag district in June. Then that is there they said that this is an act of revenge for the killing of their leader, Commander Riaz Ahmed,
Correct.
in Pakistan administration, POK. Imagine, they say that we have killed a security officer in Anantnag district as a revenge, as a guerrilla warfare strategy. We have taken a revenge against killing of their leader, who is Commander Riaz Ahmed in Pakistan administered Jammu and Kashmir.
Correct.
One side, they claim that this is a only force which is meant local force. Other side, it is saying that we are taking a revenge for killing of our person, our commander, who is somewhere in POK. So obviously there are definitely links with the terrorist organization outside Kashmir. The militants also attacked the residence of a BJP vice president of Ganderbal. In this attack, one PSO of BJP leader and one TRF militants were killed. It also attacked a BJP leader by killing killing a Jammu Kashmir police guard and taking his rifle away somewhere in Nagaon, Srinagar. So these all indicated that the militant organization under the name of TRF has become resurgent in Valley. In January 2023, the government of India banned TRF under the Unlawful Activities Act by indicating that it is actually a terrorist organization and designated its leader, that is Sheikh Sajad Gul, who is a militant, as one of the designated terrorists. Now, the ban was imposed due to Indian government's suspicion or definite inputs that TRF is involved in a sort of conspiracy, and they may try to assassinate some Kashmiri journalists somewhere in June. These are the background under which I like to tell you that this force, known as TRF, has started operating in the Kashmir Valley. So one side, we have talked about the terrorist activities that have started in the Jammu region. Other side, the TRF is operating under a different name in the valley, and it has become resurgent. What are your views on the subject?
Sir, I agree. Since I had mentioned earlier that infiltration into the valley is becoming that very difficult. The support to the terrorists coming from Pakistan side is limited because the overground and underground workers have been sorted out. Now this TRF is basically the local boys, misguided boys, who have picked up the weapon. They are the locals. So the logistic support to these, because they're operating in their respective areas, they are targeting soft targets. Example, they have, besides what people you have mentioned, sir, the BJP people, they've also been targeting the migrant labor, which is working in the valley, sir. So, but I don't think it is such a potent force per se. But one has to be careful with this Amarnath Yatra, which is going on right now, sir.
Yes, I like that you elaborate on that, because Amarnath Yatra is likely to take place. And as the things stand today, there could be some sort of terrorist activities. How do you plan? What are your views on this? How should they plan? How the government of India should plan about it? Yes, please.
So the government has taken adequate steps in terms of bringing in additional security forces for this Amarnath Yatra. Today, around 4,000 people from all over the India are moving in for the first lot of Amarnath Yatra. So this is a crucial point, because if something happens, it brings in sort of a divide between the communities in the valley, sir, and also in Jammu division. So that is one aspect we have to be careful of. As you brought out, sir, that terrorism, as far as Jammu, the valley is concerned, is well under control. Jammu division has to be kept under surveillance, have to work on to ensure that there is no divide between the communities in that area, that we provide protection to the minority community, because before the elections, which are supposed to be in September this year, these terrorists are definitely going to make an effort to create some problem somewhere. And that's all I have to say for this. And
thank you so much, General Deepak. I like to only add that one cannot become absolutely, sort of complacent as well as the valley. One cannot be complacent. That's what I'm saying. That
Yes,
valley also is in the grip of sort of activities of TRF, which are camouflaging. Sometimes they say that we are locals, and it is again resistance against the abrogation of Article 370. Sometimes they say that we only want freedom for Jammu and Kashmir. Other side, they want to take revenge for somebody who has been killed in the Pakistan-occupied area. And all this shows that the tactics are varying. They sometimes say this thing, another. So the terrorist activities in the valley, though under control, yet I think they can lift their head anytime. That is what happens in most of the terrorist areas. Although unless we have completely eliminated them, unless we have completely thrown them out, unless the entire population is with us, you can never imagine as to what stage, at what time the terrorists may come up. So therefore, the terrorist activities as well as Kashmir is concerned, I appreciate your sort of conjecture that this is going to be
sir, I just intervened. I've had 7 tenures in J&K, sir, along the line of control as a insurgency operation and staff and command. So what I said was based on what my knowledge of that area is, sir.
Your knowledge is there immense. I have also been in that area. What I am trying to say that you cannot become, sort of okay here. So we need a lot of caution as far as Kashmir Valley is concerned. But much more, I agree with you, much more is required in the Jammu area, because the terrorist operations are being supported, as you said, in the Jammu area by some ex-servicemen of special service groups of Pakistan Army, as you represent. So therefore, we have to be very, very cautious as far as Jammu region is concerned, because they are being supported by the ex-servicemen of special services groups. So with these words, a word of caution for all of us, and particularly the security forces and the intelligence. I thank you once again for having discussed the resurgent and latest situation of terrorism in both Jammu region and Kashmir. Thank you very much. Thank you indeed.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure being with you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.